Hi, Father Dennis here, on a mission that we all want to be part of. Today, we want to talk about 5 questions that you need to deal with if you want to help young people. Now, why is this necessary? Because I've realized and I've done some study that if you have good question, you are good to go. You are prepared to not only give an answer, but to go beyond maybe one answer that can be there for that question. When we talk about young people, question number 1, we realize they are still keeping crying. And why is this a concern? I set to discover what happens with the young people. This is my new publication, The Cry of the Young People, Transformational Experiences with a Mentor Priest. As you see from the cover page, walking towards a young man seated. It's a symbol of him having discouragement. When you look at this, a question raises, why might he be sad? Because holding his head facing downward, things must be wrong. It's the story I've written in this book. How one evening as I took my walk around a village somewhere, I came to this young man seated, and I was like, he's not right where he was seated alone at that moment of the evening. I walked towards him. I greeted him. There followed silence. I knew I had no other choice. Things were not right. But I made an effort to go closer and asking the young man if I could help him. The response I got really shocked me. Who are you, and why do you think that you can help me when everyone else has deserted me? That made me feel sad for him. And I asked, is there anything I can do to help you? Silence followed. I said, in any case you need my help, trust, I will offer some. As I seemed to walk away from him, I heard him ask, who are you? Again. I went back, told him my name. And I asked him to tell me what happened. He narrated. I said, I'm sorry. Then I asked, is this all that you can do to yourself? When everyone else cannot believe in you, when everyone else can desert you, is this what you can also do to yourself? A child started there, trying to help him see what was in his life. We unfailed. Therefore, in this book, there are 5 key questions you need to keep asking yourself. They have joined this show so that they can give us some information about their parents and what they have learned. Let's get to know, as children in this family, which we have been talking about courtship. Would they have heard of this topic in their family? Or what else have they picked from their parents as a value that they can share with us young people for us to develop ourselves to become who we want to be? Welcome.
Hello there, my name is Sylvia Kimathi. I'm the firstborn daughter of Mr. and Mrs. Kimathi, and I am an advocate of the High Court by profession.
Hi, my name is Shanja Kimathi. I'm the third born and actually the only son of Mr. and Mrs. Kimathi. I recently graduated and I do IT consulting. So ever since I was a kid, my parents on most weekends never used to be around. And I used to ask myself, what are they going to do? And so in the cars, both my parents' cars, they used to have a sticker. And there we written marriage encounter. So we got curious, so I got curious and would ask them, what is this marriage encounter? And then that's when they got to explain to us that they go and mentor young couples or couples who are already married or who are in relationships and are planning to get married on how to have a proper marriage, how to cultivate a good relationship. So what I can say I learned from them and what I see from them when I observe them, in the over 30-year relationship, I can say one thing is about communication. Communication is something that you can establish as a couple or in all aspects of life, working relationship, friendships, is to communicate. You have to all be on the same page, and communicating, one of the most important parts of communicating is listening. And sometimes I know a lot of words can be misunderstood, but when you listen and try to observe what your other person is saying, what your partner is saying, what your child is saying, then you're able to get from their perspective. So yeah, I can say that's one thing I've learned from them.
Further, I've talked about the SIGO married activities. I've talked about that when we got married, we used to, when we got married in the beginning, we used to do things together. We'd always go to places together, and especially when we were courting, we were always walking hand in hand, even in town. But when we got married, things started to change. And the SIGO married activities came in when I would pick my things and go and visit my sister alone. Or he would just wake up from the house and maybe go to visit a friend without even informing me. Or even go and buy something that we had not discussed. Those are the kind of SIGO married activities that we are talking about. And these are also brought in by no communication at all.
So in terms of listening, I think one of the major things that I've learned with listening is that it has to be two-way. When you're communicating, you listen to what I say. And when I'm communicating, you also listen. As I said, you're trying to come to an understanding of what the other person has to say. So I've observed from my parents that they listen to each other, but sometimes observing is just not everything. You still have to read about it, and you also have to practice it yourself. So before I started becoming good at actually listening, was that I would have situations with either my classmates where you're not communicating properly or you're having disagreements. And most of the times you'd find yourself that what actually made you disagree is just because you're not listening, Sometimes I can say a lot of people make the mistake of hearing and not listening. So you're just hearing to reply, but you're not listening to understand what the other person is saying. So I think that's why I always say listening is a very big part of communication. And it's always good to be a listener, because everyone has their thoughts and they always assume that what I'm saying is right. But actually when you're listening is when you get to learn.
So I've learned a lot from my parents growing up. As my brother said, we used to see them traveling all the time when we were little kids. And for me, I used to get excited a lot about the gifts that would come, and always telling my friends, oh, my mama has gone to America, my dad has gone where, because I used to do a lot of trips. So I digress a bit, but I want to go into what I've learned. I have learned about, just to be support. You need support in relationships. You need a lot of, support from other couples, to grow. I think that is something that a lot of people don't come to realize. A lot of people nowadays tend to shut themselves in. So if you're having a relationship, you just want it to be a relationship between you and your spouse or you and your boyfriend. And we tend to forget that, a lot of relationships need us to have a lot of support, because you need to have other different, opinions. Because, for example, if you're fighting, you need to know, how did other people handle the fight? If they're coming together, you need to know how did they make it this far. So that is one lesson that I think I have really learned a lot from my parents, and it's really helped me in my life.
Yes, I would say that unity is very important. Actually, the goal of marriage is unity. If a couple works towards unity in their marriage, all the other things will find themselves in place. However, we note that many people work or look for joy. But joy only comes if we are united as a couple. And therefore it is very important for us to work for those things that bring unity in the marriage. If we are united, then whatever challenges come between us, we shall be able to work towards that, towards them, whatever challenge. Be it, for example, many couples get married thinking that it will be automatic to get a child. Suppose you don't get a child, what happens? Does the marriage come to an end? No, because the goal why we came together, it was not because of children. We got married because we needed to be together, to be companions. We can only be companions if we are together. But if we find ourselves childless, we are together, we might even think of how to overcome that challenge, because we know in our African situation, our parents will be, 2 years down the line, they expect grandchildren. How do we handle that stress that is affecting many couples who are not blessed? When we are together, we are able to say, okay, we came together because we are friends. If we are not able to get a child, what do we do? Maybe we can think of adopting or getting a child from be foster parents. So when we make such a decision together, it helps us to overcome those unmet expectations of getting children, because every couple on their wedding night expects along the days ahead to get a child. But then if it has not happened, it is not going separate ways or going for other methods, but to come together and see how can we overcome this challenge. Or better still, if it is a financial, we are finding that financially our needs are not our expectations are not being met, we again come together, pull together our resources, our minds together, and work to a solution that will bring us together. But by going or looking for solutions separately, they don't give us that joy. So, in a nutshell, I would say the goal of marriage is unity. Let us focus on unity. All the other things will find their place in the marriage.
So I have learned a lot about support. If you look at the world today, you'd see that a lot of people are, all about themselves. People have tended to be very focused on building themselves, and living alone. So if you look at especially the modern world right now, a lot of people are advocating for me. How do I get my happiness, my career, my everything? So seeing the support, my parents have given to other couples, not only to couples but also children, it has really impacted my life in a positive way, because first has enabled me to build great relationships, not only with my family but also with friends. I have good friends, and I'm able to single out people who are not there for a positive reason in my life. If they're not supporting me and I'm supporting them, so it's a dual relationship. So from them I've learned that a relationship is all about duality. It's an all-rounded kind of situation. I have also learned from that support system. From that, I have learned to support other people. For example, in my office, we give at least 10 pro bono cases per year to people of need. So we look at especially low-income earners who cannot be able to afford legal fees. So we give at least 10 pro bono cases per year and give a budget for that kind of support to the community. In terms of my friends as well, I am really supportive, and sometimes people call me the relationship doctor, because I really tend to focus on building relationships, and especially friendships, because it's what comes to help us in a time of need. And I'm really grateful to my parents for showing me this one thing that the world despises, but for you can see as you're going through, especially at this Corona time, that support is really, really important, and having family, having friends is very, very important.
You have talked about your interest in supporting people right from your office and the surrounding, and now you have a name, relational doctor. Congratulations. But here I want to ask you, why do you find yourself going out to support people? Is it because your parents did it, or is there something more than that?
I do find it very important to, give a lot of support to not only my friends, but my clients. And why do I do it? I think my personality, how I am as a person, I'm a very supportive person. I really want to see people live, their best lives, and also to see them, thrive in whatever area that they're with. For example, for my clients, for those that we're doing pro bono cases, pro bono meaning that we're not charging any legal fees, for example. So I really find it important because you'd find they're from very poor, regions, for example, and legal fee is not a basic need for them. So if you don't support them, they would, for example, stay in jail for the longest time. And it is for a crime, maybe it's a very petty offense, or somebody has been, they have been wrongly, accused. So I take it up because I really want to, to help them and to see justice being served to those kind of individuals. And it also brings me joy to see people, living their best lives.
Tell us, what motivated you to join this profession?
Father, I don't really know what exactly inspired me. I just really wanted to be an advocate or a lawyer, as you may, let's simplify it, a lawyer when I was growing up. However, when growing up, my dad, is also an advocate of the High Court, and seeing him do his thing, being an advocate and defending people. Not only that, he could do other things other than law and thrive, and also thrive as a lawyer. It really inspired me. So I think that's really cemented my ambition of being a lawyer. Yeah, so.
You have talked about your father is also in the same profession. How does it feel when you see your father in court? Maybe you find yourself in the same case, but how does it feel to have your father in the same profession? Tell us.
It's great actually, having my dad as an advocate as well, and also he's also a businessman, and I like how he connects, being a businessman and being an advocate. You see, it has really given me a mentor. Let me just say that I look at him as a mentor to me. Yes, I go to him with a lot of questions. He has really helped me in a lot of ways. Whenever I needed a clerk, if I need precedents, if I need, books, if I need drafting, I need to draft some things and I have no idea where to get, the precedent from. My dad has come through and it has really helped me as a lawyer, and it's really a great experience for me. It has been easier than a lot of other lawyers. I remember I worked in the judiciary, and I decided to go into private practice. And looking for a job at that particular time was really difficult, because coming from a public service to private practice, a lot of law firms would be really skeptical to hire you because it means you have to be retrained. And for me, it was good having a dad, because I went to his office and he trained me. And so having a dad as an advocate and doing the same thing as I do has really been a blessing. It has been a positive for me.
Now, you have told us you left public office, which everyone would wish to cling to. What might have inspired you to make this move?
Father, I was really inspired a lot by my dad again, because as I said, he mixed his business with the law profession, which really was an inspiration to me. If I take you back to when I was in law school at Catholic University, I used to do a lot of business to, help myself with pocket money, to just give myself some extra pocket money. And I think it was also inspired by my dad because he did a lot of business, and he inspired me in that way.
The third concern about the young people is about the disappointments in families. Just remove this when you remain with appointment. It's something that you can celebrate. But the disappointment, what can it bring you? Now, why should young people talk about the disappointment from the families? All is right. And we all know no one will ever plan for bad moments. But it's right and it's necessary to start planning what should be done when bad moments come into our life. And this, when I kept talking to these young people, whatever they express to themselves that has made them also get lost comes rightly from when their parents are lost. What can cause their parent to be lost? Maybe when they lose their jobs, maybe when they become sick, or something happens in their family. And instead of the parents holding to what is supposed to be held to, quarrel comes, drinking takes over, separation. Now look what you leave your kids facing. It's not easy. They are left to cry. They are left in a lost ocean where they don't know which direction to go. And that's why in the book they have vowed to accept when their parents are disappointed from their own lives, even by themselves, but they are ready to get united with you as a family to help each other to attend to the needs that can make the life in a family work. And there are three things that they want to do or they want to tell anyone in their family who may be going through disappointing moments. One, that self-discipline and determination can always change lives. When the worst has happened in our lives, we need to sit down, know that we need to tighten up, avoid what is necessary, come back and focus on what can save us. Look, especially when now all youngsters we have during this pandemic period are out of school. Everyone is being called to the self-discipline from their parents to their children to be determined on the real life values that can take them out of the agony that they may be going through. Self-discipline is the best drive in your life. Number two, the word that can give you or anyone that is disappointed is rightly, when I say in this book, seeking help. No one will make it. No one will, wake up one day and have it right if they have not had someone to help them. Even my own self, when I was doing this work, I know I can write, but I am not the one who will design it. I'm not the one who will edit it. I got someone to help me do it. But when all this is done, I always kind of ask, who is going to be in my team to assist me do what I'm supposed to do? Even in our upbringing of our children, even in our own lives, we need to seek help from time to time. And number 3, on how to face disappointment, is when we have the positive mind that failure is not the end of life. John Maxwell says this: unless you change failure to be your best friend, then you will never get it right. Now, ask yourself, why should many people fear to fail? And what should be done so that when failure occurs, when things go wrong, how should we pick it up?
Private practice for me was something to aspire to, because as a lawyer you want to, do the commercial contracts, you want to do this, you want to go to court and, defend people. And for me that was a real inspiration. My dad does a lot of dispute resolution cases, and he really inspired me because I wanted to go to court. I wanted to appear before a judge and argue out my case. So he also inspired me to that. And one funny thing I would tell you is that there's a day I was working for the Political Parties Disputes Tribunal, which is a tribunal that listens to political party disputes. And I remember my dad was actually an advocate for one of the parties to the case, and I was a legal researcher. So it was really weird, if I should say, to see my dad arguing, and it's like I wanted to give him all the secrets to the case, but you can't. You're bound by rules and procedures. And I remember seeing him and I was like, yeah, I actually want to be that person who's defending the clients rather than, writing the judgments, for the judges, because I was a legal researcher for the High Court judges at that particular time. And that moment was actually an inspiration to me. I was like, I want to be on the other side of the bench. I want to be the one who's doing the, the defense and, having my clients so happy to win the case.
You have stated rightly that you have learned to be a communicating person. I can tell you on my case, in 2016, I got ordained, and immediately I was in my office. A thought came to my mind: I need to become a good communicator if I want to be successful in my priesthood. There I went to learn how to become a good communicator, and I learned so much from John Maxwell University up to now. This is exactly what has brought me on this show, that I want to keep communicating with young people. Give us some incidences that you have made use of these skills that you learned from your parents. Tell us whether you still go to them and what other people are looking up to you where you're working.
Why I think communication for me is actually one of the most important aspects of a human being is because we are social beings. We need to send messages to each other, and how that message is sent and received from one party to another has a very important role, or plays a huge factor into, if in case you have something you want to achieve. So the communication is what will determine the success or the failure of what you're trying to communicate. For example, myself at work, I work in an international space. So I'm in a space where I work with people from a foreign country. So first thing is language barrier. That's one of the things that will inhibit what I want to say. So I have to look for a proper channel that will make me be able to communicate properly to that person who doesn't understand English as their first language. Maybe English is their second language. So you see, so as I say, so when I think of, for example, at work, I always try to use diagrams or images to explain what I'm trying to say. Because maybe if I say it in words, or if I type it out, they might not be able to understand. But if I draw, I come with an image. If I draw flowcharts, they're able to understand the process that I'm trying to communicate for them to engineer it, for example. And why I actually do this is because a lot of people are not sending the right message. And it's not their fault. It's just that there needs to be a way that you communicate to this person or another. And I feel like in the world, no one wants to go that extra mile to be able to make this other person understand. So as we said, in any relationship, you need sacrifice. So sometimes when you go that extra mile to find a way to communicate to one person or another, or to even take the chance to listen to what they're saying, you'll be able to understand better what they're trying to do, and you find yourself building that relationship, breaking down the barriers that you have, the perceptions that you have about this or this other person. So I feel like that's why it's very important for young people especially, because young people are very absorbed in themselves. They don't want to learn to understand the other person, where they're coming from, why they might think this way, and also even communicate with themselves. Why am I thinking this way? Why am I acting this way? Why do I think this is right or why it's wrong?
You have talked about communication that is hindered by the perception of people. And in my book, The Cry of the Young People, that I published recently, I talk about changing your perception for you to help young people to grow. I think this is not a problem that is only facing young people. Even in families, even in choice of life. Now, tell us, have you ever encountered some incidences that you have found people with rigid or like not easy to have that openness to get to where they want to go? If yes, what did you do to them?
In terms of perception, and what I've learned from my parents is that sometimes it's good to just understand what this other person is trying to say. So for example, my choice, let's say, of school and education, my dad wanted me to do finance, but at that time I wanted to do marketing. And for me, I had to really sit him down and show him how marketing is marketable. And for him to just sit down and listen to me, to what I'm saying, made him to open up his mind and see the actual opportunities in this field that I'm trying to venture to. So for him, of course, being a lawyer, my parents just in their own lines of careers had to be open to the idea of me doing something else, and had to sit them down and explain to them so that they could have that perception of what I'm trying to do or to work on with my future. And sometimes I feel like there's a lot of prejudice and prejudice can come from so many other things, what you've read, what you've heard about. So sometimes it's good to just educate yourself about these certain topics. You know, we have a lot of problems with tribalism in our country, and even in marriages, you find people saying you can't marry from this certain tribe. And when you come to actually, you see, that's a bad perception. But if someone were to just sit down with these people, you realize that one person from this tribe and this person from that tribe are all the same. We all have the same blood. Our blood is red. Nothing is really different. So having the time to being in that kind of environment where my parents would allow me to just be who I am, and also teach you to how to perceive other people in a positive way, not look at negatively, I think has really been a good.
It came also to a time that I was asked to go and give young sisters, young girls, and young boys and girls in the postulancy, wanting to enter the religious life, and I was now teaching other people, grown-ups and other people, about psychosexual and human development. So they asked me to go to give these sessions to the young, let's say, postulants and the religious to be, and by the Kenya Association of the Sisterhoods of Kenya. So I started going to give sessions to the young people in the core to psychosexual, human, spiritual and human development. And then again, it was my desire to uphold and to help young people. If I have been privileged to be where I am, and I've been privileged to have education, to have ongoing formation, to have to have a lot of experience and know-how, why not then also reach out and give these people? So I was really happy to help the young people in formation, the young people both in the religious life, and also I used to be called here like to Trinity Holy Sacrament, Blessed Sacrament Church, to give young people and other people workshops and seminars.
Yeah, and that's why I really admire what you have just said. And rightly, when I get to listen to you, you're just saying you got into the lives of the young from the time you were young.
Absolutely.
And that makes you to have a good rapport with the young.
Yeah.
But above all, it's what you're saying. Yes, you loved it. You didn't love your background. You didn't love your career, you loved to sacrifice.
Yeah.
What does it mean to sacrifice as a young person to let what, I don't know, tell us, what does that mean?
I think to bring to that one is that one time I went to Nyeri
Okay.
to a home visit, and to one of the girls wanted to join us.
Yeah.
And the relatives were not, let's say, Catholics. So they asked me, sister, I mean, that time I was young and dynamic and beautiful.
Wow. Even now you are.
And then they asked me, sister, what made you not get married? And this is the life people are. And all the education, all that you have had, to give it in the convent and live that kind of life.
Yeah.
And I told them, it is not the initiative is not mine.
Okay.
The call is from God.
Wow.
It is God who puts that inner desire in somebody
Yeah.
to make a choice, a preferential choice,
Wow.
for the sake of the kingdom of God, and Christ becomes my number one. It is God who gives us that vocation, even the desire to get married,
Sure.
to go to the religious life, to priesthood, or to remain single, provided you live a dynamic, faithful way in following Christ, in following God, in the way you are brought up.
From chapter 4, we have picked so many things, but I will say that there are those things that have really made us feel like we are going to pick them and use them in our lives. One, about relationships. In my group, we have decided that we're going to be in productive relationships that are going to help us be better persons. And we're going to be in relationships that are not going to drain us. We're going to be in relationships the moment we are ready to take responsibility for our actions and be ready to be in control. We've also taken the point that if you want to help others, make sure that you're also growing in the process. Take time to listen to others. As Father stated, you need to be keen to listen to the unsaid words. Be a careful listener. Listen to others, even learn from their emotions, learn from their actions. You need not to be told. The greatest pickup line that I have taken from this chapter is that falling in love with God is the greatest romance. To seek Him is the greatest adventure. And to find Him is the greatest human achievement. And that is the driving thing that we have picked. And from a personal level, I feel like it is a thing that I will always seek to do in my life. Thank you.
Having support systems in my life has been such a crucial element in my life, and it has really influenced and impacted a lot of decisions. It has molded my character. So in terms of family, having a great support system meant that I have people around me who have supported me, and this has really contributed a lot to my emotional well-being, my mental well-being, seeing that there's a lot of mental cases in the rise nowadays because people are just not there for each other. So it has really helped me and molded me to be a better person, to be able to support people, and also not to be selfish, to think about other people as well. In terms of my friendships, it has also influenced me a lot. I am very particular about the people that I surround myself with. I would say cultivate good relationships. Cultivate relationships which are going to mold you as a person. And I thank my parents for showing me that you can actually create good friendships. I have seen them grow with their friends for years. And that is actually an aspiration for me, to have friends and to have relationships which I can say I have molded over the years. In terms of my career, further, what I can say is a great support system is very important. We need people. You need to focus on a lot of things in your career. You need time for yourself. You need time for your clients. You need time to grow the business as well. So having a great support system has really grown myself, has grown my career. it has really influenced a lot of things. For example, trust. I'm very particular on trust. I really want people to trust me as an individual because, for example, my clients would really trust me with a lot of information, with their money, and I have learned these values from family. To the young people, I'd like to say that having a great support system is very, very important, especially to your mental well-being, the emotional well-being as well. I would say please surround yourself with the right people in your life. Have the right, individuals who are going to build your character so that you're not just led astray or you're just not swayed to, believing what other people are saying. You're strongly founded in some values. So having a great support system is very, very important. Take care of yourself, take care of your well-being, and you'll be able also to take care of others.
I love what you have said and what you did. I would wish to know what age you were when you were to engage your parents in this discussion of what marketing was for you and not what they thought that you would do better. Is a problem that many young people face, and when they cannot express themselves, they end up losing that which they would have excelled in. And that also brings us to talk about what really would you want to tell the young people why communication is important.
I was in campus. I think I was in 3rd year, so I can say I'm maybe 21, 22 years old. And at that time, because I was doing BCom, Bachelor of Commerce, we had to major either in finance, accounting, marketing, HR, and I think another course I can't remember. So it was because this decision I was about to make was going to be what I was going to do for the rest of my life, and that comes with repercussion. If I choose the wrong thing, then I might not be happy in what I'm doing. It might be difficult as well, because the reason why I was choosing marketing is because I was excelling in it. So the importance of me communicating to my parents, because I was the one who was to bear the consequences of that choice that I'm about to make. And because, of course, I am accountable to my parents, I had to let them know, I had to communicate why, first of all, I want to do this course. And even though it looks like you're disobeying them, you're not really disobeying them, you're just following their dreams. And when you make them see it in that way, then you end up seeing them, they lower their guards for you, and they're able to allow you to do that because they're also coming from a place of love. So as young people, I'd like to say, be bold enough, be courageous enough to speak your mind, of course in a respectful manner. Learn how to phrase what you're trying to communicate to your parents or your friends or your teachers, authorities, on what you actually want to say. And I've seen it's very easy to do this. And as I always mention, please practice. It just doesn't come automatically that I became a good communicator. I really had to read, I really had to practice, I really had to consult from my elders, my friends, even people under me, because knowledge is everywhere, and it's always good to just ask around, get advice, and make the right decision. So young people, I'd encourage us to always be bold, communicate in the right channel, speak what's inside you, and also always consult God. I feel like He always has the best answers. And yes, thank you.
I've always said in the empowerment program, we are always ready to listen to empower you. They are ready to accompany you to achieve the unity that you wish to have in your marriage. We want to give thanks to God for the gift of Charles and Mary, and for your children who have joined this program, that the good Lord together may give us the opportunity to transform the society, because we believe the family is the foundation of all that we look for. And if the family doesn't work, then nothing will work. Thank you for being there to save the family and the future of us all. Looking forward to see you in the next program.
Amen.
Thank you.
Jesus, I believe. Jesus, I believe. Jesus, I believe.
Jesus, I believe.
Jesus, I believe.
Jesus, I believe.
I believe in you.